Looking for student accommodation services, comfort and luxury all in one? Look no further. Dalaba Residence for Bed and Breakfast has got you covered all the way. With our standard location at the tranquil east of TDA Kololi, we have proximity to basic necessities like the beach, the Banjul International Airport and more. Our environment is comfortable and peaceful, suitable for different tastes. We operate all year round and serve a wide range of accommodation, both for long-term and short-term stays. Our guest rooms are properly set up with all the necessary utilities intact. Well-structured toilets with a shower and fully air-conditioned rooms with television and refrigerator, all inclusive. Our self-catering 2-bedroom apartments are built with internal individual kitchens and a spacious private balcony just for you. We offer an internationally standard cuisine with a great quality of restaurant with a bar in the terrace. With our efficient and well-trained workers, we offer a great deal for customer service. For more information, call us on 9700 750-1111, 370-1111. You can send us an email at info@dalaba.gm. Better still, visit our website www.dalaba.gm. At Dalaba Residence, quality and comfort is assured.
Fossil clothing all came out of a passion and belief for simple, beautiful, environmentally friendly clothing that would revolutionize the Gambia's garment market as well as fashion as a whole. It was important for this to be centered in the Gambia, to provide opportunities for a vibrant and youthful population seeking gainful employment in a creative field. Our vision is to be the African underwear brand with Afrocentric products for international consumption, universally accessible at an affordable price across Africa, and to manufacture our products locally. We believe it's about time for the Gambia to produce an international brand by Gambians in the Gambia. And Fossil's goal is to do just that. We have the passion and drive for it, and I hope you do too.
The road to 2021 on Mamos Radio will continue this Sunday, 21st of June 2020, with an exclusive interview with Honorable Usainu Darbo, former Vice President and leader of the United Democratic Party. He will be joining us for an exclusive interview this Sunday on Mamos Radio, 7 p.m. Gambia, 8 p.m. in London, 9 p.m. in Oslo, Norway, and 3 p.m. Eastern here in the United States. So, it is part of our series of interviews that we conduct with leaders of all political parties in the Gambia before the end of the year, to have them talk to us and talk to you directly, the voter, and our listeners. There are programs and policies that they have in store for the country should they be voted into office. This is the time to listen to them and to be able to hold them accountable should they win the elections. So join us this Sunday with the leader of the United Democratic Party, Mr. Usainu Darbo, for an exclusive interview with me, Sulayman Darbo, on Mamos Radio. 7 p.m. Gambia, 8 p.m. London, 9 p.m. Oslo, and 3 p.m. Eastern here in the United States. I will see you then. Hello and welcome to Mamos Media. My name is Sulayman Darbo. It's a warm welcome to all of you in the Gambia and around the world. This is the road to 2021 on Mamos Radio. Every Sunday, we invite a leader of a political party to the program to talk about the programs, ideas, and policies they have to transform the lives of the people of the Gambia should they be voted into office. At the launch of the program, we had former Vice President and leader of Gambia for All Party, Mr. Bakari Buja Darbo. Last week, we had
I think we lost Sulayman there. Sulayman?
Last week, you had Mr. Lamin Bojang of the Gambia Action Party, and today we'll have Honorable Lawyer Ousainou Darbo of the United Democratic Party, UDP. If you're listening, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Radio Hour, the Road to 2021 with Mamos Radio. Welcome, Lawyer Ousainou Darbo. I know you don't need introduction, but still, we have listeners all around the world. So just to give us a brief background about who are you?
Thank you for hosting me. Of course, in your introduction, I said Lawyer Ousainou Darbo. That is exactly what I am. I'm a lawyer, and I've been a lawyer, for the past 40 years, more than 40 years. I've been practicing law in the Gambia, and I don't know what I should call it. Being fortunate or the misfortune of being the leader of the United Democratic Party, and that is what I am.
Okay, so we will go with both terms, unfortunate or the misfortune of being the leader of the United Democratic Party. So it could go either way, So when it was the misfortune of leading it, you have gone through a lot, right? So the whole party, since its inception, has experienced a lot. So right now, the road to 2021 is upon us, and every week the political arena right now in the Gambia, it's getting crowded. It's not a two-horse race like before. Currently, we have about 16 potential presidential hopefuls, and every one of them, of course, tell us they have a policy and they have all of this. And we went to your website. You have some fantastic policies that are meant to move the Gambia forward, move the needle forward. Because since the inception of this country, since we became a sovereign nation, every one of us have wanted something better for the country. And yet the policies that are available has not really moved. We have really good policies on paper, but it's just the implementation of those policies. What is UDP going to do different that's actually going to move the needle forward?
Well, what UDP is going to do different is to demonstrate its political will to implement these policies. Where you have the political will, implementation of policies become very easy. After all, in 2016, there was a transition program that was presented to the Gambian people, a very fantastic, good transition program that everybody really applauded. But then, after getting to office, we started cherry picking and the programs and see those that we want to have implemented and giving a deaf ear to others, and then bringing in programs that are not in tune with the transition program. So again, it is the political will. The motivations that get one to run for elective offices. I think these are the things that we will do differently from others. Our motivation for running political offices is not really self-aggrandizement. It's not any way of trying to really make a name, but we are genuinely concerned. And it is an account of being genuinely concerned for this country and about this country that the UDP has endured a great deal of suffering for the past 22 years. No party in this country has been subjected to such indignities. No party in this country has been subjected to brutalization as members of the UDP. Yet because we are convinced of what we stand for, and we believe also that when we are there, we'll be able to implement what we stand for. That is why we just kept on and never flagged. And inshallah, we will continue in that spirit until December 2021, when the electors will make a decision as to who should be the president of this country.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Darbo. If you're just joining us, you are listening to the Road to 2021 on Mamos Radio. Your host, Sulayman Darbo, is actually back. But before I hand you over to Mr. Darbo, Sulayman Darbo, that is, I just wanted to, Lawyer Darbo, Honorable Darbo, rather, you mentioned in the beginning the fortune, and I'm using your words here, the fortune or the misfortune of leading this party. So UDP, we've seen a lot of things like you've mentioned before. You have gone through a lot of indignities, and you have suffered, experienced a lot of indignities. Not only you as the political leader of the party, but also people who identify as members of UDP have also experienced a lot of this. So, and for us, political parties are usually, you know, presidential candidates in waiting. Are you ready to, on day one, will UDP be ready to move the country? Like day one, you're prepared to go. And then Sulayman Darbo, you're welcome to ask any questions.
Well, certainly, we are not going into government unprepared. We are not going to the government and then start making your plans. No, we are going to government prepared. We are going there. In fact, let me just disclose this. Yesterday, I just inaugurated the Policy and Strategy Committee of the party, and which will deliver in 3 months' time. They will deliver their report, and it is those policies that we will go in for our elections, and it is with those policy guidelines that we will go into government and get ready to run the affairs of this country, get the country moving. We are not just going there and then start running helter-skelter to see, oh, what is wrong with this particular institution? What do you need to do with the economy? What do we need to do with education? What do we need to do with health? No, we are going there well prepared for that, because that is what will justify our request for a mandate from the people of the Gambia.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Ousainou Darbo, leader of the United Democratic Party. I most sincerely apologize for failure in technology that just happened whilst I was trying to introduce and welcome our listeners to the program. But I'm glad that my co-host here, Dr. Aminata Silla, was able to take in charge and get the conversation going on. Before going to our next question, Mr. Darbo, I just want to acknowledge and appreciate the sacrifice that you and many people in the Gambia sacrificed to get the country to where it is today. I spent almost a decade in public media in the Gambia, and I witnessed a lot of elections in the Gambia. And when campaigns were being held or conducted, we in the public media weren't allowed access to interview people like you in the opposition and stuff like. So we appreciate the sacrifice you've made for the country to get us to where we are today. People like Solo Sandeng, Deda Hydra, Chief Ibrahim Mane, these are people who lost their lives during the struggle. So from us here at Mamos Radio and Mamos Media, we want to acknowledge this. We want to appreciate your sacrifice for the country.
You're welcome, and certainly it was a joint effort. You know, it was a joint effort by all of us, you in the media and those of us on the political platforms. It is a joint effort, and we're happy that at least the public media in the Gambia can now interview leaders.
Okay.
Model be calling again. Sorry, there was that interruption. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let me just get your reaction, Mr. Darbo, to with everything that's going on around the world. I've asked this question to all the guests I had previously. The coronavirus that has claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Right now in the United States, it's claimed more than 118,000 people who died from the disease. The downturn of it caused to world economies, to the issue of racial injustice and political or police brutality here in America. I'm just wondering, what is your reaction to everything that is going on around the world right now?
Well, certainly a lot of things that is going around the world, particularly in the West, certainly matters that meet the condemnation of all decent-minded people. You cannot just justify why law enforcement officers, people who are supposed to be protective of the lives of people, how they can brutalize their fellow human beings and cause their death for no justification. is unimaginable. And I believe that it is time for the world now to stand up against these type of activities, no matter how strong the particular government may be. It is time that the world should prick the conscience of those powers in the world who really give a blind eye to these sort of brutalities that go on in their country or in other countries. And we want to join the families of those who have who have transited to the other jurisdiction. He said that we share with them their bereavement, and particularly our own son, our own nephew, Lamin Sise,
Yes.
who met his death at the hands of the police. Especially, we want to certainly, that's our own personal bereavement, and we condemn what has been done by the government, by the police authorities of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And we have, of course, we do have, of course, the issue of international dimension, which is the COVID, and of course, this is a global pandemic, and there has to be, in my view, utter cooperation amongst the nations to really keep this pandemic at bay. We know that our resources are not the same, our expertise are not the same. For others are more resourceful, and others are better experts to deal with this such a situation. But again, those who are better resourced and those who have the expertise should come to the aid of those of us that are less endowed, because a containment of the pandemic in Europe without doing the same thing in Africa, places like the Gambia, really does not contain the pandemic globally. Because and I think this we should really have a global approach to it. It is unfortunate that the United States government has taken the decision to literally withdraw from WHO, and we know how much WHO, how the role it plays when you have situations of this nature.
Right.
And it performs its role well when it is properly funded. And when one of the states that contributes significantly to the funding of the institution withdraws its membership, that is a cause for concern. But again, this for me, this some kind, I'm not sure whether it's kind of, geopolitics, how to really control how to control other states. But this is unfortunate.
Right.
And on the COVID issue, let me say here, I want to register my deep appreciation for the stance taken by the Honorable Minister of Health on this issue.
You mean the Minister of Health for the Gambia?
The Minister of Health for the Gambia.
Okay.
The stand he has taken on this issue, he and the frontline workers have done great, having regard to the limited resources that is at our disposal, having regard to the paucity of our experts in this area. But then we all want to really cooperate with them and make sure that the objective they set themselves out to do is achieved.
Okay. So you are aware of the fact that the UDP members in the National Assembly voted against the extension of the state of emergency when the executive required for the extension after the expiration of the first public emergency. Now that another state of emergency is in place, is your party cooperating with the government in this regard?
Well, let me say that I think even before the president of the Gambia made a statement on the COVID, I think I'm the first national leader who made a statement on the COVID. Mm-hmm. And my position then and now is that the United Democratic Party will cooperate with the government of the Gambia, not only outside of the National Assembly, but also in the National Assembly, as well as our local authorities, because we control the local councils here, that our local authorities will also cooperate with the government of the Gambia in the crusade against COVID-19. Yes, the last time when the matter came of extension in the National Assembly, there was a vote against it. But the vote was not against the declaration of the state for the extension. The vote was against the period. And I think this is what the people of the Gambia ought to understand. They asked for 45 days. And there was already a recommendation by the Select Committee on COVID that the state of emergency should be extended for 21 days. But then government did not take advantage of that and said, well, no, they have rejected it. But our rejection was not for the extension. Our rejection was for the period for which it was to be extended. And I think this is the honest thing that the government should have put forward. When the first extension was sought for 90 days, people spoke against that in the assembly and suggested 45 days. And the minister came with an amended motion with 45 days. That same could have been done for this one. But I think the belief was that we just have to tell the world that UDP rejected an extension when that was not in fact the truth. UDP did not reject an extension. UDP wanted only for 45 days.
Okay.
Yeah. For 21 days.
All right. So one more issue on your reaction to events happening around the world. We mentioned the name of Mr. Momodu Lamin Sise, who is Gambian, lost his life in the hands of the police in Atlanta. You have served as foreign minister of the Gambia during this administration. The names of people who lost their lives recently in the hands of the police, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, recently Rashad Brooks in Atlanta. These are names that are in the media here in the United States. Every single day, every TV station you tune into, these are the names that you hear. And we are in solidarity with them. We reject what the police did. But the name of Modu Lamin Sise is not in the public media here in the United States. You've served as foreign minister. Do you have any means contacting your former colleagues in the foreign departments across the world to ensure that this guy's name is just not lost like that? That people have to remember him as someone who lost his life, just like other people, just like people like George Floyd and the rest of them.
I don't want to sound a little bit segregationist or discriminatory here, but you see, the others, George Floyd, and Aubrey and Brooks, we must know that these are Americans, nationals by birth. Now, Mr. Sisi is probably an American who acquired American citizenship, maybe through naturalization or whatever, So for the community that he belonged to is the Gambian community. He does not belong to the ordinary American community. And because of that, his case seemed to be lost. While the others, their cases, are still, still looming up very high in the minds of the people. I would want to think that it is us Gambians who have to make sure that his name keeps up coming, and the Gambian community in the United States, particularly in Atlanta, could be a good instrument in doing that. And I want to suggest to my Gambian compatriots all over the United States of America to make sure that issues affecting Momodu Lamin Sise does not die down, that we pursue to its logical end. I don't have to say what I have done personally, with regards to this of Momodu Lamin Sise. I mean, in fact, even I think the second day of his death, the day I resident, the following day, I certainly did in my own way, my own small way, try to do something. And I'm happy to say that what I try to do at least has put me in a position that comforts me in a way.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Darbo, for that. Let's move to some policy issues here. We will have this discussion in two parts. We will discuss the policy aspect of it, and we'll discuss the politics of it too. So Dr. Silla is here to help us understand the policy discussions that will be coming out of here. So the economic policy first of a UDP government, from your manifesto, will be one of a free market economy, which is allowing for competition among businesses in the market without major government interference to determine price and to ensure the provision of efficient and quality services for the consumer. Now, my question is, how far will you go, that is the UDP government, to cut back on existing regulations on taxes to encourage private investment?
Well, certainly, we do believe that the tax regime needs to be reformed. It has to be looked into. After all, you cannot attract meaningful investment into the country where you have a tax system that I wouldn't call inequitable, but a tax system that does not allow for small business, even for small business to grow. And this is what we need. We need to do that. And I can assure you that when it's not if we are, it's when we come in. We will certainly grapple with this tax issue. Do the cuts where the cuts would be, and then broaden the tax base. Now, I think we will certainly do that. And as I had mentioned, probably you were off, that this committee that we have set up, the chairman of the committee, who is quite au fait with investment matters as well as tax issues, will be addressing all those issues so that its practicalization will not become difficult. Because it is one thing having a policy and then its actual implementation, practicalizing it, making it practicable, becomes difficult, because then reality dawns on you. And then for us, when we are doing this, we approach it with a sense of realism, weigh all the cons. If this particular situation arises, how do you adjust yourself? When that particular situation arises, how do you adjust yourself so that you will be there with practical solutions to your policy issues. You can present the most beautiful policies, but then when it comes to implementing them, you find that you are stuck. You cannot move.
And that's the whole essence. That's the whole essence of this program, because we don't only want to hear beautiful policies coming out. We want to know how they're going to be implemented.
And is it even feasible? Like, some of these policies are beautiful on paper, but they're very impractical in terms of implementation. And then when it comes to implementation, do you have the right people to actually implement? Because bad policies in the hands, you have to have the right people to implement.
You do not have to have the right people, because when you say the right people, these are people with the necessary qualification, people with necessary expertise, and people with necessary experience and knowledge. But if those people are not willing, they do not have the political will, or they are not of being service oriented, service to their nation. They probably think of things that will be that will benefit themselves. Certainly implementation will be difficult. I think that is what I had said at the beginning, that there has to be the political will. However beautiful the policies are, however attractive the policies are, and however beneficial they can be to the nation, if those in charge do not have the political will to implement them, certainly will not do so.
Let me jump in there for a second, Sulayman. And Honorable Darbo has actually mentioned some words that are music to my ears, like public service motivation, and those are things that people like me really enjoy talking about and listening to. So people with public service motivation are actually political will. They can help in implementing policies. However, since forever, Gambia has fallen into this trap of partisan politics rather, where the victor distribute the spoils of the war, for lack of a better term, right? So all the people who supported you, you help them by giving them public office. So what is UDP doing in terms of ensuring that not only the right people, but the public service motivated people are in place, and not that's just the people that supported the party to the finish line?
Well. Let me tell you that I don't want to use this word, the victor and the vanquished, I don't want to say that, But again, I know what you are driving at. You see, I believe that there's always payback time in politics. There's always payback time in politics. But to what extent should that be? What are the frontiers? There has to be a line to be drawn. Of course, I believe that political offices, I mean, you don't expect me to appoint somebody into my cabinet whose political orientation, whose political thinking is completely different from the UDP. You don't expect that. Yeah. You don't expect that. You do not also expect me to appoint, as ambassadors, certain ambassadors, because these are political positions, people who do not share UDP's philosophy. But of course, the head of the civil service, for me, his appointment should not be influenced by any political consideration. We want to look at a service that is neutral, apolitical, that is, we work with any government that comes into, any party that comes to government. That is the type of civil service that we want to have. And in fact, that is the type of public service that we think we should have. And I want to say that this is what UDP has been fighting for all the years. And it has been, we are so much accustomed to that thinking that it has virtually become part of our physiology. You can never separate it from us.
Right. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned the issue of having the political will to implement the policies that you have in place. I, like many other people, I would assume, not even assumption here, but I know like yourself, born and raised in the provinces, born in a farming community. I was born and raised in a farming community where I found my parents using the hoe, the cutlass, to clear their farms and to do the rest of the farming. Today, 40 years later, it's the same method of farming they continue to use. What is the policy of UDP in changing the lives of people like that?
Well, you see, the method cannot be changed overnight, because if you have to introduce modern farming, it just cannot be done overnight. When I say cannot be done overnight, it's not every farmer that you can equip with modern implements for farming overnight. It has to be a gradual process. And I would bring back the cooperative societies, infuse life into them, and the cooperative banking system. I'll bring back an agricultural development bank that would really finance, activities of the farming community. We'll be in a position to buy implements for them, not give them the money to go and buy the necessary farming implements they want. But buy the farming implement, give it to them, and the agricultural development bank taking a lien, taking a lien on them, because there are loans that are supposed to be paid, and of course the rate of interest that also has to be paid should not be commercial rate. It should be rates that will really encourage farming and make farming attractive to people, because you cannot give someone a loan of $500,000 and expect him to pay 23% interest who is engaged in farming, and expect him to really do well and pay back. No, the exchange rate should really be at a rate, should be pegged at a position that will really help the farmer do his farming activity, realize from these farming activities, and be able to pay off his loan. This is what we'll be doing.
Okay, we will continue with the discussion on agriculture. Let's just finish the discussion on your economic policies for now. You said you are going to encourage the private sector to be very active in the economy. By that, you will be, consider giving them tax breaks for what they're trying to do. I'm wondering, knowing that the Gambian economy is very dependent on taxes, how do you plan to reconcile giving tax breaks and also losing revenue whilst doing that, knowing that the government depends heavily on taxes?
Well, obviously, government depends on taxes, but the tax break that will be given, or tax, what might call tax incentive that will be given, yes, would be for a limited period. And of course, it will be a tax incentive that will match your investment. And we know that investors come in with very glossy investment proposals, and you look at them and, oh my God, this is going to turn this country into a middle-income country, in the next few weeks or next few months, years. If you are carried by that, and you take certain decisions on a tax incentive, I think you should keep monitoring that particular company to see whether they are living up to their investment proposals that has really influenced you in giving the tax incentive. If they are not living up to those investment proposals, then of course you have a good reason to discontinue the tax incentive. But if they are really doing it, because it's because of course when the investor does his investment according to his proposals, at the end of the tax break, you start collecting taxes, and you would have done contributed a lot to the economy by way of employment. Yeah. And of course, those employees, you collect tax from those employees even during the period of tax break. You'll still be collecting taxes from them. Yeah, and of course, you'll also be getting them to train Gambian manpower to ultimately take over, because that's the whole essence. That will be the whole essence of the taxes of the tax break. You are giving them so that you can have indigenous Gambian trained to take over the management of those companies.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad to hear that UDP is planning to have a balance between the economic incentives or economic policy and balancing it with the democratic values of the Gambia. And there will also be, of course, M&E, making sure things are in alignment with everything else. I just want to shift a little bit to education policies for UDP. Because the Gambia is situated in such an environment where a lot of people within the sub-region come to the University of the Gambia because the country itself is stable. Professors don't go on lecturers don't go on strike. So all of those are available there. However, the University of the Gambia, since its inception, has been lacking in resources. What is the plan for UDP in actually innovating and transforming this university into a center of excellence that all the sub-region, it's like a beacon that everyone around the sub-region can actually attend? That's in Gambia's favor, but yet we're not utilizing it.
Well, of course, when you look at the University of the Gambia Act, it tells you, because I think this is what will really make it a center of excellence. It tells you the sources of its funding, and of course, among these sources of funding is endowments. And I think the university administration should really look more to that, because universities really get a lot of help from others, not necessarily the government. And of course, the University of the Gambia, if you are just to depend on government finances, it will soon collapse, and it cannot continue to really depend on
Subvention.
I'm sorry, there's some interruption. You cannot continue to depend on government subvention. So the university itself, administration, has to be innovative in how to secure funding outside government sources. Of course, the fees, the level of the fees as it is here, I think has to be maintained, because if you raise the fees, many Gambians who are qualified academically to gain entrance to the university can gain entrance, but they will not be able to pursue their course of studies because they do not have money, the finances to pay off the fees. I can imagine and agree that for non-indigents, you can put the fee at a level higher than what you do for the Gambians. That you can do. But again, what I would suggest is that the government or the university administration should be innovative in ensuring that they get funding. Let me tell you, I have a grouse. I've just looking at the schedule of the National Assembly. There's a bill for University of Science and Technology, the Gambia University of Science and Technology. Who doesn't want the country to produce people who are good engineers, civil engineers, electrical engineers, and in the sciences? We all want that. But the question we ask, the question UDP is asking, do you really need a university of another university to be set up by the government? Why don't you have a well-equipped faculty of engineering or faculty of science and technology within the current University of the Gambia? And then, you do not have to set up, another university with a vice chancellor, with a whole university administration. You don't have to do that. You can utilize the funds that you'll be putting into that university to improve the current university. That is what I think should happen.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So let me still on the economy. Just before we move into agriculture, we're already in agriculture, but I just want to take you back a little bit to economics. Do you know Gach Mining Company, Mr. Dow?
Gach.
Yes, GACH.
Well, yes. I certainly heard about them. I wouldn't say I know them. I certainly heard about them.
Okay.
I think they're
so
taking
we'll phrase it. Have you heard about them?
All right.
I've heard about them.
Yeah. Okay. So just 4 months into President Adama Barrow's administration, they launched an investigation into the activities or what they call corrupt practices of the former president Yahya Jammeh. And sand mining was a huge issue, was a huge matter as far as those investigations were concerned. Now, before the investigations were even concluded, the government, the Barrow administration, issued out a license to another company to restart mining. I want to know if you were aware when you were in government about this investigation in the first place.
Well, I know that the Jammeh Commission was set up whilst I was part of the government. But obviously, the issuing of license to Gach was not an issue that was brought to cabinet when I was there. And if it was brought to cabinet when I was a member of the cabinet, then it must have been discussed when I was out of the country. But even if that happened, even if it was brought to the cabinet and discussed whilst I was out of the country, the cabinet conclusions would have been sent to my ministry, and that would inform me. But what I'm saying in a sense is that this was not issue brought to the cabinet, so I cannot.
You don't know much about it.
No, I don't know much about that, unless of course the particular ministry wishes to share their views with me on it. That is it. Yeah.
Okay. So I brought it up because recent media reports suggest that the company may be involved in some tax evasion practices. According to Malagan, Malagen is an online investigative newspaper. Crack mining, in its 3 years of operation, the company exported more than 16,000 tons of heavy mineral sand, generating a conservative revenue estimate of approximately $124.9 million. Out of that, only $15.1 million, less than 13% of the revenue, has been paid to government as royalties. Your reaction?
Well, certainly my reaction is that will be, I don't know whether I should say an abomination, but that should be something that should not be expected, because after all, the Janneh Commission was established to combat this type of practices. So I think everybody should have been on his guard to ensure that what happened under Janneh does not happen under the current regime. I had always advocated, even Janneh's time, that there should be a projection from the Minister of Finance in their budget, working with the Ministry of in charge of geology. There should be a projection in their budget. What government expects to realize in terms of royalty from this mining operation, so that that projection that could give us also a fairly good idea of the quantity of the black sand that should be exported out of the country in order to meet up that projected revenue that is to be realized from these operations. And 2 days ago, I think I read in the papers that Gas paid a royalty of 33 million.
They pay 33 million?
Yeah. See?
As royalties or as taxes?
No, I think royalty. I think it's the headline, royalty, and yes, royalty. But again, if there is this issue that you've mentioned, I think our National Assembly members, as dutiful citizens of this country, will put a parliamentary question on that to the government and see government's reaction, and then whatever government's reaction is, that will inform United Democratic Party's next approach to it. But I can tell you that we will, with this information, ask our National Assembly members to put a parliamentary question on this matter.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, and that's the essence why I brought this up, so that National Assembly, as an oversight committee, could probably look into this. But this is what even is more worrying or more concerning to me. Going over this report from Malagen, it says, according to this Malagen report, the company has been operating without environmental clearance, and from a conservative estimate, owes a potential tax liability of more than $2 million, approximately $40,000, having never paid taxes since inception in 2017, and does not even keep a tax file with the tax authorities. How would a UDP government react to such a revelation?
No.
Well, yeah, but that goes back to what the question we were asking earlier about parties and politics.
On the UDP administration, every company registered in this country will definitely have a tax file, and I suppose, since probably the Commissioner General of GRA will probably be listening to this interview, or will subsequently have information.
Well, we have plans. We already have a plan to have an interview with the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Energy, and we're trying our best to also talk to the GRA authorities. Yes.
Yeah. But then I would doubt that this company would operate without having a tax file, and I tell you why. Because one of the persons in that company.
Do you know Mr. Abubakar Jawara?
That's what I'm saying. He's supposedly very close to the president. And I think because of that, the tax office will not allow this man to operate without having a tax file on him, because they will have to cover, because the Journey Commission is a lesson to all that you cannot just abdicate your responsibility on the, say that it's my superiors. This is what my superiors ordered me to do. So I don't think the Income Tax Office or the GRA will close their eyes and not have a tax file on this person. Probably what people could probably say is that, well, they have a tax file, but not paying the right taxes. That may be the case, but not having a tax file, I don't think that could happen.
So
I don't think
UDP
that-
will not be. So
we'll
UDP will not be
continue digging.
rewarding.
Yeah,
UDP will not be rewarding. Sulayman.
Yeah, we will
UDP
continue
will
to
not
dig
be-
into it.
Okay.
Dr. Silas, just a second. We will continue to dig into it. Again, I already have a scheduled interview with the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy, and I'm working on having one with the GRA authorities. So one final question on the issue of mining. Will you offer adequate compensation to those individuals and communities whose sources of livelihood could be destroyed due to sand mining and other eminent domain situations?
You see, yesterday I had an interview, I think with this Kibaro outlet, and one of the things I dealt with was the unfortunate situation of the landowners in the Combos, and it's predominantly in those areas that this mining is taking place. And my position is that the royalty that is being paid, or supposed to be paid to government, should go back to the community. They should also benefit from it, because their environment is being degraded.
Sorry.
Well,
Has been
unfortunately,
destroyed.
that has not
And,
been the case for a long time.
Yes, and then of course, we UDP believes that communities where activities of where mining activities take place and other activities that could have some negative impact on the environment, the people living in those areas should really have a share in the royalties that is paid to government.
Let me
Because,
draw your attention to one lady who is from the Sanyang Sukuta area, Brufut area. Her name is Binta Bojang. She uses, she does farming, gardening. Her husband fell ill, unable to walk any longer. Is this lady Binta Bojang? According to this Malagan report, again, we did not independently confirm all that is in this report, but this Binta Bojang is the breadwinner of the family. Now, the mining that is going on there is affecting the land that she uses to farm. She and others like her around the country are suffering from situations like that. I'm wondering, like you were talking about there, the UDP's policy as far as people like them are concerned.
Well, certainly, with a UDP government, if these sort of situations are brought to our attention, we'll take measures that will place this affected person, adversely affected person, that will put them in a position that financially, that will take care of what they have lost. There'll be adequate compensation for them. And in fact, it will be a condition of the permit that is to be granted to these sand miners that your activities that, if they adversely affect the communities, farming communities, they would have to take care of that. I mean, that's what we see, in other places, whether it is, mining of sand activities, or in places where it is, oil
exploration,
extraction, and so forth. The communities that are adversely affected, the companies that are engaged in those activities and responsible for causing these adverse things to the communities, they provide a common compensation for them. And I think it should not be different from the Gambia. And I want to suggest to Binta, yeah, and others affected that they should really take up their complaint to the Ministry of the Environment and the Ministry of Energy, who are responsible for control of sand mining. Take their complaints to them and let the person be adequately compensated, because you cannot have companies making profit when those people who own the land are in fact suffering. In fact, their livelihood, is being taken away from them, because if they cannot farm, then their livelihood is being taken away from them.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So let's move. One more question from me.
Okay.
As far as policies are concerned, we'll do just a couple of questions on politics, and that is on the energy policy. You plan to increase generating capacity of NAWEC. How do you plan to do this?
The way we want to increase generating capacity of NAWEC is by really getting into renewable energy. We are not interested, in getting generators of whatever capacity, because at the end of it, they have a lifespan,
right.
And when their lifespan is spent, you go back to 0 point. So
or go buy another generator.
Buy another generator, and by the time the other generator comes in, the whole country is in darkness.
Right.
But renewable energy is certainly what we are going to pursue, and this is what is the answer to our problems. And government and NAWEC will make sure that our government takes a decisive decision on this, because it is lack of decisive decision that the government has still not found any willing partner or any good investor who really is prepared to work and make sure that renewable energy is made available, and then the capacity of NAWEC is increased.
Yeah.
Okay.
You served as Foreign Minister, Honorable Darbo. Are you aware of the security arrangement between Gambia and Senegal called the Hot Pursuit?
Well, when I was Foreign Minister, I don't think any such agreement was really reached. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
But it is there right now.
Okay. Well, it is there. Well, I guess it's certainly not for the. So it will certainly not be for the benefit of Senegal alone. Gambia
the arrangement is reciprocal. In that both countries, the security of both countries can pursue suspected criminals in either country for up to a certain kilometer of miles into each other's territory. This has become very contentious because Senegalese have been accused of illegally entering Gambia.
Let me say, I think for me this is of whole pursuit, and as far as Senegal and Gambia is concerned, I think it was more to contain rebellious activities in Senegal.
In the Casamance region you're talking about?
In the Casamance region, Senegal, because you don't find this hot pursuit from other than from the southern, from the southern part of the Gambia. You don't find it from in North Bank, CRR, and so forth. It is LRL, which is of course borders with that region is Casamance. Now. And it is, for me, I think it was just to contain, rebellion in Senegal, so that when rebels strike and run into Gambia, Senegal authorities can really pursue them. Yeah.
So in other words, you are in support of this policy.
But let's cattle rustling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody gets allegedly gets into Senegal, steals a few goods, comes into Gambia. Should there be hot pursuit? I think in that way, the normal way of getting the person, arrested and then be dealt with according to law should really be what should be followed, not under the pretext of hot pursuit. I mean,
Right.
the issue of hot pursuit is being pushed, to it's being pushed to a level that certainly, in my view, is not warranted.
Yeah. All right, let's move to some politics now. I want to get your political reaction here before we let you go, Mr. Darbo. I understand you are busy having to have another meeting, but we have to get you, we'll have to discuss some politics here. This is so important. UDP right now is the main political party in the country. You have the majority in the National Assembly. You are popular in the country and around the world. How do you plan to turn the support into votes in 2021?
Well, thank you. I think you're really right. Popularity and votes are not the same. You're right.
Exactly.
But,
we don't have scientific data coming out of the Gambia, so the only way we can gauge the popularity of the party is to see how they're performing in the National Assembly and how their popularity is viewed across the world.
But you see, Mr. Darbo, I just want to just keep working on how to sustain and maintain that popularity. How we are going to turn that into votes will be disclosing my strategy to my opponents. And I do not want to do that.
Well, I said that, I asked that question because you and I both know that you and the UDP will be going for the same people that the President Adama Barrow and his party, the NPP, for the same people. You all going for the same people. So that's why I want to know, how do you plan to turn those support right now into votes come 2021?
Exactly. Honestly, Mr. Dav, that's what I'm saying. That will be disclosing my strategy. You know what? I mean, I know that we have done something, and I see them trying to copy us.
NPP trying to copy you?
Of course.
Wait,
okay.
So
Of course. In fact, even the structures, the party structures, they just picked up the UDP constitution and then did the way we are doing. Of course, but that's
almost one and the same.
But that's a compliment.
That should not be a surprise, because they are hyped up from UDP, and so they cannot think afresh.
Independently.
They're independent. They just have to take UDP structures and see how UDP has modeled the structures, and
because it's almost one and the same party.
Imitation.
It's not one and the same party, because our thinking are different and our approach to national issues are different, and our commitment to the people of the Gambia are different.
Well, imitation is a sign of
let me get your
admiration.
Let me get your reaction to the claim by the chairman of the Brikama Area Council, Mr. Sirifo Sonko, that the UDP executives should resign.
Well, again, we've got the letter, and the Central Committee of the party is discussing the content of that letter. My reaction to that may not be the same as the majority of the Central Committee members might think, and it may be the same. So I'd rather wait. But then, it is left to independent people who are not even members of the Central Committee, people that do not even belong to UDP, to say, when you are asked to explain why you should not be expelled from the party, and then you say, but look, you resign. And whether, but I mean, the Central Committee is really looking at it, and we'll deal with it. Yeah.
But is it true that he was expelled and then his expulsion was rescinded because the proper procedures were not followed?
Well, look, nobody will tell you what the procedures that are laid in our party, in the constitution. In fact, there's no procedure stipulated in the party. Power is given to the party to expel to the Central Committee to expel any member. And if the Central Committee is not sitting, is not in session, then the National Executive, the delegated responsibility is given to the National Executive. And the National Executive exercises that delegated responsibility. But when we sat and started doing certain things, we felt that when we are dealing with Wajwara, we took certain steps. And what were those steps? We asked him to attend a meeting and explain why he should not be expelled from the party. During the COVID time, you cannot convene a meeting for people to meet Central Committee, so it has to be done otherwise. And because of that, because we believe that this is an office holder, and if you just expel him, losing his office without him being heard, may breach the rules of natural justice because he's going to lose an office. If it was just an ordinary member of the executive that does not hold in an elective office, we wouldn't have bothered. We wouldn't have bothered. But because he held an elective office, and we thought that, look, the principle of natural justice, let us apply them. And that is not, and that is really, So, I mean, those people who are saying or who are making those adverse comments, we leave them to make those adverse comments. It doesn't bother us after all. After all, when you're in politics, you should expect those type of comments.
Right. So let me just jump in with a couple of questions under Darbo here.
Okay, but
I know
my next point is right through.
Yes, but it's very quick. But if this is on your population, I mean your popularity, you're very popular. It can be a good thing or a bad thing. So here the issue really is there's so many mixed messages online about UDP, like your policies, your issues, just because you have too many people who are supporting you and they're putting information out there. How do you control the narrative to make sure that it's coming from central office? And then another question really is, UDP is known, everyone on social media is saying the Mandinka Party, the Mandinka Party. How do you correct and make sure you direct the narrative and saying that this is a Gambian thing, it's not one ethnicity? So those are the two questions.
Well, since 1996, we've been addressing this issue. And I think the Gambian people should really be able to make up their minds about UDP. There is no amount of explanations that we can give that will not say disabuse, that will convince those people who are hell-bent on discrediting UDP, who are hell-bent on painting UDP as a Mandinka party. There's nothing that will convince them. From 1996 to now, we've been explaining. So I don't think really, I would want to say that in fact the media should really stop asking Usainu Darbo that question. I think they should ask him some other question because it's completely irrelevant. I mean, maybe they'll start talking. They'll start talking about Mama Kande's party being a fuller party.
Okay,
which leads to my next question about.
So really, for me, this issue of UDP being a Mandinka party, these are really our detractors. I mean, those who do not have anything good for UDP, who are evil people, and they cannot say anything against UDP's policy. All that I've explained here, which UDP will do when it's in government. They don't have anything. They don't have anything negative to say about that. The only thing they can have to say is, "Oh, these are Mandinka people."
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very
glad
you brought that up because this is the reason why I asked that question is to make sure that we are voting this time in 2021. We want a different type of Gambian politics. We want issues, and not we want people to vote along issue lines and not along ethnic lines. So this is why I brought this question up because this is Gambia, we might want to disabuse people of the idea that, we don't vote along ethnic line, but we do. So this is why this particular platform, we talk about issues. We want you to explain your policies. So it's out there so people understand it. So that's why we always ask everyone who comes about this question of ethnicity. It has to be asked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So right now, there are 16 political parties in the country that have registered so far, and it is only 2020, not even up to 2021 yet. Hopefully, we'll get 32 or more than that by the time we get to elections in 2021.
Wow.
So my question is, the president and his party, NPP, enjoys incumbency. And you know more than I do, you've been in politics before I was born, that incumbents enjoy
Win.
that thing, with all the state resources at the disposal of the president, even though that should not be the case, but it's the unfortunate reality that we have to deal with. That is, he's going to have the state resources at his disposal, and he's getting a lot of financial support also. Is there any way that the UDP is financially ready to withstand the force that the president and his party is coming up with?
Well, Mr. Darbo, UDP is the People's Party, and the people are going to fund UDP's campaign and take UDP to government. It's the People's Party. I mean, our opponents' incumbency doesn't bother us at all. I mean, our opponent's performance is really the dagger that will be used to stab him.
Final question before we let you go, Mr. Darbo. I was talking to a source in Gambia. I was working on a particular story. And whilst we were talking, just before I hung up the phone, he told me, but you need to be careful a little bit. And I said, why? He said, because your last name is Darbo, the government might consider you as an opposition. And I laughed at it. And then when I thought about it after that conversation, I came to realize that might be the thinking of many government officials, that, like we were talking about, politics of tribal politics. My question to you is, will your administration will ignore people's last names when it comes to government policy?
Well, certainly, which will never happen, and if UDP ever that matters, the surname of any individual matters, then we would definitely not have stood by our professed standing that we are in government for the entire people of the Gambia. Let me tell you, Mr. Darbo, that a UDP government will certainly not decide against anything against President Adama Barrow's family because they are President Adama Barrow's family. Never. They'll be treated like any other Gambian. And I want to tell you this. If you have a UDP government, President Adama Barrow will be treated with utmost respect as the former president of the country. Of course, unless something comes out which really makes him not to deserve. I think even all those who have served as ministers under President Adama Barrow will treat them as elder statespersons and give them all the respect they deserve, barring, of course, the discovery of anything that makes them not to continue to enjoy that respect from us. But it does not mean that they will be treated in a way to show that, look, you are the ones who are opposed to us. No, if you do that, or if you want to do that, we'll be, really, drifting away from our stand. We will be betraying the Gambian people because that has not been the stand of UDP since 1996. UDP has never believed that anyone should be disadvantaged because of your tribe. We don't believe that anyone should be disadvantaged because of your political affiliation or your political persuasion. Nor should you be disadvantaged because your surname is Barrow or your surname is Jame or your surname is Darbo. We don't believe in that, and we will never believe that.
Okay.
Because
Well,
if we do so, we'll be causing polarization in the Gambia, and a polarized society is very difficult to manage. And we will never. We want to preside over United Nations, working together for a common destiny.
well, right now, I can assure you the country is very, very, very polarized right now. I hope we'll be able to get it from that position, but right now, that's the reality.
Yeah.
We will unite the Gambia.
Well, thank
That's
you
good.
so
So
much,
there we
Mr.
have it.
Usainu Darbo. Mr.
You're
Darbo
welcome.
was the Vice President of the Gambia and the leader of the United Democratic Party. Are you contesting the elections yourself, Mr. Darbo?
Well, I will apply to the United Democratic Party and ask them to consider me for selection as their presidential candidate.
And if they voted you in, you're going to contest?
Absolutely.
All right.
Well,
Thank you
there
very,
you
very
have
much,
it.
Mr. Darbo. That's what we want to know. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your time today. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, so that was Honorable Usainu Darbo, former Vice President of the Gambia, leader of the United Democratic Party. And we now continue the political roundtable discussion. Dr. Silla, you're here, you've asked your impressions?
Yes. Well, first, full disclosure, I am not a journalist, and I had to be placed in the position of a journalist earlier. So I was very, in the beginning. Yeah, so, I mean, Honorable Darbo has been in this political arena for a very long time. So he knows exactly what he's saying. He's been dancing this dance, so he's mastered it. Yeah. So he's mastered talking to the media, controlling the narratives. Some of the questions were answered, some not. The ones that he liked were answered in full detail and very much laid out. He, of course, UDP since 1996 to present, they have also crafted policies and perfected their policies. Well, no policies are perfect until it's implemented. Yeah. So they have, so they've had time to do all of those things. And Lawyer Darbo, as he mentioned, he's a lawyer by trade, and he has, the party in itself has time to do this, to perfect their craft. So of course, and him being, he's a darling of the media right now. He's on pretty much every talk show you listen to. That's why I said he knows. He's very strategic. His UDP, they have a strategy that they're working on, and they're appearing where they know they should be appearing.
Well, what is your take on his point that UDP will ensure that all the policies that they're advocating for right now will be implemented through the commitment or the hiring of people who have the political will to advance their policies?
Right. Yeah, I actually enjoy talking about that. And I find it very interesting that he said, when I said the right people in the position, he said, well, the people with the political will. So I found it very interesting, right? So you can have the political will and not be the right person. Well, then what's going to happen to the policy, right? So you can have the political will, you can be motivated, but you don't know what to do. Right. So motivation alone is not going to get you to implement the policy, right? So I can have the political will, but I have no clue what I'm doing. On the other hand, I can have the expertise.
The know-how.
I may not have, I can have the know-how and have the expertise and how to do these things. And I may not have the political will, but I know how to do these things. So I will do what I have to do. But I think also it's kind of redundant because he said they will only have people who have the political will, right? So the fact that we're actually going back to this question about, the right people, the right person, the right people in the right position, then becomes it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you can have some people who are ready to work in a particular administration, even when they don't share the political will of that administration. But because it is a national policy advancing the interests of the country, they are ready to work. Mm-hmm. Yes, they are ready to work.
Already. And that's one of the things I asked him about. Will UDP be ready to move on day one? Because for me, political parties are just presidents, like political leaders, potential. They are presidents in waiting. So while you're waiting, you're preparing yourself to start office. And he said, yes, on day one, they're there. They're not going to look at policies of other people, see what works, what doesn't work. They're going to come in with UDP policies and they're going to implement UDP policies. Now, I had to pause for a second in there and say, but what if there are policies that are actually working for the betterment of the country,
existing
already
policies
working, existing policies that are already working. What are you going to do with those? Are you going to, and I think that's the question that we should have nailed down in there and say, okay, what are you going to do with the policies that are actually working? If policies, you know how we say here, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
Exactly.
if policies are working for the Gambia, is working for the people, why are you then going to come in and say, hey, this is UDP policy, we come in here, we're going to implement our own policies, right? So there has to be I think, you know, as when you get into office, I know people want to work and do things their way because you want to, you know, the people get you to office, you want to satisfy them, but you have to take stock of really what's happening around you. What are the policies? Who's doing what? How are they doing it? When did we implement this? How long is this? Is this a short-term policy? Is this long-term policy? When are we going to see the yields of these policies that we, you know, you got to put people there. That's why I said people who know what they're doing, because these people need to understand the long-term effect of these policies. I may have the political will, but if I don't have the expertise, hey,
we won't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Aminata Silla. Dr. Silla is a professor of public policy at Townsend University, and we are recruiting her to become the chief policy analyst for Mamos Media. We thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Your expertise, we can always count on it. Thank you so much. And we'll get you back here next week when we identify and confirm the next candidate who will be joining us for the next discussion next week.
Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to the road to 2021 is becoming very exciting. You know, it's not a 2-horse race anymore, like I said, but this is becoming, it's like you have 16 horses on a racetrack.
On a racetrack, exactly.
Yeah. So you're going to see who's actually going to pull out first.
Right, yeah. So, well, listeners, our viewers today, actually, this is the first time that the Road to 2021 is being broadcast on live video. So we hope you enjoyed it, and we will continue to bring you the discussion on live video. So as we transition from the radio to TV. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be here next week, same time, same place, Mamos Radio. And we hope you enjoy the time. This is the reason why we are doing this, to bring you these candidates to talk to you directly so they can tell you the programs and policies and ideas they have should they be voted into office. That gives you the opportunity to hold them accountable if they fall short of what they promised you during this time. This is all we have for you today. My name is Sulayman Darbo. Until we come your way next week, have a good day.
Fossil clothing all came out of a passion and belief for simple, beautiful, environmentally friendly clothing that would revolutionize the Gambia's garment market as well as fashion as a whole. It was important for this to be centered in the Gambia, to provide opportunities for a vibrant and youthful population seeking gainful employment in a creative field. Our vision is to be the African underwear brand with Afrocentric products for international consumption, universally accessible at an affordable price across Africa, and to manufacture our products locally. We believe it's about time for the Gambia to produce an international brand by Gambians in the Gambia. And Fossil's goal is to do just that. We have the passion and drive.
Looking for student accommodation services, comfort and luxury all in one? Look no further. Dalaba Residence for Bed and Breakfast has got you covered all the way. With our standard location at the tranquil east of TDA Kololi, we have proximity to basic necessities like the beach, the Banjul International Airport and more. Our environment is comfortable and peaceful, suitable for different tastes. We operate all year round and serve a wide range of accommodation, both for long-term and short-term stays. Our guest rooms are properly set up with all the necessary utilities intact. Well-structured toilets with a shower and fully air-conditioned rooms with television and refrigerator, all inclusive. Our self-catering 2-bedroom apartments are built with internal individual kitchens and a spacious private balcony just for you. We offer an internationally standard cuisine with a great quality of restaurant with a bar in the terrace. With our efficient and well-trained workers, we offer a great deal for customer service. For more information, call us on 9700-700-750-1111, 370-1111. You can send us an email at info@dalaba.gm. Better still, visit our website www.dalaba.gm. At Dalaba Residence, quality and comfort is assured.